Newport is growing. By the time the new millennium arrives, almost 11,000 people will call Newport their home. In another 20 years, 17,000 will live here, drawn, it's safe to assume, by Newport's natural beauty and friendly people. Are we ready for the future? Hi, I'm David Anslow. Now, it's not necessarily a topic you'd bring up at the dinner table, but it's a vital part of Newport's future: wastewater treatment. Now, this plant was built in 1964 to serve Newport for 25 years. Back then, this site lay in a sparsely developed area of the city. Today, as you can see, it's surrounded by homes, apartments, and businesses. And I don't need to tell you what it's like for the folks around here on a hot day, especially when the plant is overloaded. And that's an ever-increasing problem. The city of Newport expanded this facility in the early 1980s, and since then has added other upgrades, such as air scrubbers to reduce the odor. But the plant is old. Its technology, which was state-of-the-art in 1962, is now obsolete. Replacement parts often must be manufactured from scratch, which is costly and time-consuming. And there's another major problem. It simply cannot handle the amount of sewage generated in Newport each day.
We've done everything that we can do to extend the life of this plant. We went into a major upgrade in the 1980s where we installed a new biofilter, air scrubbers, and a new primary clarifier. About 2 years ago, the plant hit capacity. Now, what I mean by capacity is envision a Volkswagen pulling a semi-trailer along a flat. As long as there's no hills, this Volkswagen is going to go just fine. But the second you start up that hill, this Volkswagen is going to overheat and you're going to lose gears and it's just not going to work.
Originally, this plant was designed to handle an average flow of 1.6 million gallons of wastewater per day. When we expanded, we increased its capacity to about 3.2 million. But with more restrictive discharge regulations and more concentrated usage, the actual capacity is really about 2.6 million gallons per day. We're currently averaging about 2.5 million, so with seasonal variations, we're not consistently meeting our discharge limits even now.
I'm the compliance inspector for the city of Newport and have been for about 5 or 6 years. During that entire period, the city of Newport has been in fairly consistent non-compliance with the permit limitations of their permit. We have had a series of enforcement actions against the city. With the existing facilities, there's virtually no way that those facilities can comply with the permit.
DEQ recently agreed to allow the city to exceed its discharge limits until the year 2003, but that's based on a number of requirements. First, that improvements be made to the existing plant this year. Second, that several mandates be imposed on heavy users to decrease demands on the system. And third, a new treatment plant be constructed by the year 2003. If those requirements aren't met, then DEQ will have to aggressively enforce the present standards. In addition to public health concerns, that could mean substantial fines for the residents of Newport. We're economically better off to spend our money on long-term solutions now, rather than pumping more money into an antiquated plant. We have to have a new facility to meet our present and future needs.
If you take a look around the site here at 9 and 3rd Streets, you'll see there isn't a whole lot of room for expansion. That's why, after months of careful research and rigorous debate, a Citizens Advisory Committee has proposed a new plant at a new location in South Beach. This 40-acre site has several advantages. First, it's part of an industrial area, so the odor won't be as big a problem. Second, there's sufficient space for expansion to accommodate growth for the next century. And third, it's properly elevated, so gravity can be used to help force the treated water to the ocean. And fourth, it's right next to the existing sludge disposal site. That's why the grass around the airport is so green. Why did the advisory committee choose South Beach instead of the north side of the bay for the new site? Simple. Nothing on the north side of the bay met their criteria for suitability or addressed their environmental concerns. And if South Beach is going to continue to develop, the city's going to have to install another bay crossing pipeline to transport waste anyway.
In 1973, the state of Oregon passed Senate Bill 100, which requires that all cities plan for future growth. Part of that planning deals with infrastructure, the services that we all grow accustomed to. Sewage treatment plant is part of that. In 1990, the city developed some plans for wastewater treatment. The site for the new treatment plant was anticipated to be in South Beach, almost exactly where the property is where we recently acquired. And the time frame was somewhere between 1993 and 2000. This is a facility that we've been planning for just about 10 years now, and now is the time to do it.
Now the trick is, of course, getting the wastewater from Newport down here to South Beach, and then once it's treated, back out to the ocean. I'll let the engineers explain that one.
The project begins here near the existing treatment plant. The wastewater that is piped to the existing treatment plant now will no longer be treated there, but it will be pumped from this point from about the Nye Beach turnaround area to Yaquina Bay, across Yaquina Bay, through the north edge of South Beach State Park, down Highway 101, to a major pump station at South Beach, and pumped up to the new treatment plant site. The wastewater will be treated. The treated effluent will flow in a parallel pipeline that parallels the raw sewage pipeline along the same route and is discharged back to the ocean through the existing ocean outfall and diffuser that was built in 1990. These pipes that are parallel are represented by these two pipes that are actually pieces of the same pipe material. Because the pipes are polyethylene material, they won't corrode due to the salt air or the salt water that could become in contact with them.
There are two possibilities for the location of the pipelines from Nye Beach to Yaquina Bay: excavated into the bedrock under the beach or under Elizabeth Street.
A great deal of effort has gone into evaluating the pipeline alignments. North of the North Jetty, the preferred alignment would have the pipeline trenched into the bedrock and encased in concrete under the beach sand, as shown on this cross-section. This is to scale, and this is enlarged with the surface of the rock, the beach sand over it, and the pipes trenched into the rock and encased with concrete. Normally the sand is over this rock. Matter of fact, even this year with the El Nino, the bedrock still isn't exposed. Construction in the rock is the most secure and stable location, especially for catastrophic events such as major earthquakes or tsunamis. The alternative to the beach is Elizabeth Street. Elizabeth Street is located on the coastal terrace deposits, which are susceptible to becoming liquid and to sliding in large earthquakes, in addition to being a busy street with many existing buried utilities that would conflict with construction.
When we cross Yaquina Bay, we put together this plan view and this profile view of the bay crossing. The green line represents, in plan view, the parallel pipelines. This is the North Jetty, this is the South Jetty. This is a profile of the bay crossing, which is a side view looking at the crossing of the bay. The green line, again, are the parallel pipes. From this point over to this point is the bay crossing, and we want to use a construction method known as a horizontal directional drill. By using this method, a borehole is drilled under the bay to the other side, a distance of about 2,500 feet, and the pipes are pulled into that bored hole in one continuous piece and in one continuous pull. We don't have to excavate in the bay. We don't have to disturb the jetties or the bottom of the bay or the wildlife or in the mud flats on the bottom of the bay. So it's a better choice environmentally to use a horizontal directional drill for the pipelines.
How much is this project going to cost? About $37 million, which includes the new treatment plant, new and renovated lift stations, new transport pipelines, engineering and administration of the project, and a 15% allowance for contingencies along the way. Here is a breakdown of the proposed funding for the project. A DEQ loan will provide $14.4 million. Urban Renewal Tax Increment Funds will contribute $10 million, and existing funds will provide $1 million. That leaves $11.6 million that must come from a 20-year bond measure that will be decided by you, the voters, in the fall general election. How does that break down per family? About $1.85 per $1,000 of assessed value. So on a $100,000 house, for example, the cost would be $185 per year, or just $15.42 per month.
I hope what you've just seen clearly illustrates that the need for a new wastewater treatment plant is real. Because the City Council has a high priority on the quality of life, we have worked very closely with our staff and the engineering firm to create a plan that is not only environmentally sensitive, but cost-effective. Within that framework, we have devised a plan that will last our community for the next 50 years. As you know, our current wastewater treatment plant, after 35 years of useful service, has reached the end of its life. Without a new plant, our community's livability and economic future is in jeopardy. Improvements to our homes and our businesses will eventually be curtailed. Even the modest growth that Newport has enjoyed in the past could be halted. New jobs could be lost as the costs to maintain our current system continue to skyrocket. So please join with me in supporting our upcoming sewer bond measure. Remember, it's vitally important to our future.
Change is the only constant in the equation of how Newport's managed its wastewater in the last 50 years. Probably prior to 1950, Newport was only regulated by itself. It was a septic tank town, and it had many discharges to the bay and to the ocean. After 1950, World War II, the state of Oregon became interested in the sewage treatment of cities of Oregon, and Newport and many small cities then had to put in collection systems and interceptors. And we went then to an ocean outfall which lasted through the 60s. I came here in 1962 as the first city manager, and one of my first tasks was to build a sewage treatment plant that now is the vogue in Oregon, a secondary type treatment plant. This is the plant that we are asked to be replaced. This lasted well through the years as Newport grew. We added new additions to it in the 70s and 80s. The old plant has given you a good service through these last 40 years, and change again is one of those constants in the equation of why Newport must move ahead.
We moved down here in 1990 and had a house built, and we figure this is going to be our home for the rest of our lives, and which we hope is a long period of time to come. And we want to be able to utilize our sewer system like we're presently doing.
Now, if this bond measure doesn't pass, it will have an immediate impact on us as residents and business owners of this beautiful, vibrant community. The resulting restrictions may take the form of limited usage, and I'll let your imagination decide what that limited usage possibilities may be, or it could be an increase in your water bill to pay for the penalties that will be imposed by DEQ, or it could be both options. Obviously, either of these options will have dire effects not only on businesses and residential prospects to our community, but to any upgrades or expansions of current businesses. With this bond measure, we're not just looking at sewage. We're looking at the relationship that the wastewater treatment plant has to the future job growth in our community. If current businesses can't expand or add additional services, then job opportunities will stagnate. And if Newport has to adopt a no-growth policy because of limited wastewater treatment capacity, then job growth will be non-existent. Let's face it, we as residents and businesses will have to pay for a wastewater treatment plant in one way or another. So let's make sure that our dollars will be used to keep improving the quality of life that we've come to expect in our community.
Yeah, Newport definitely needs a new wastewater treatment plant. The system we have now is being overused, and anybody who shops at JC Market can smell the effects of that. The problem's definitely not going to go away on its own. And it's important to Newport's future.
Building a new wastewater treatment facility is essential in providing a healthy environment for ourselves and our children. Get ready for the future. Vote yes on this important bond measure in the fall election.